captain of our fairy band, Helena is here at hand, and a youth mistook by me, pleading for a lover's fee. Shall we their fond pageant see? Lord, what fools these mortals be! Greetings, brave adventurers! My name is FoxyBard, and welcome to the first episode of a new series of videos. And yes, this is the Super Secret Project. This is a series where I play various TTRPGs with my patrons over on patreon.com/FoxyBard, and then review them after the fact. All of these are going to be indie games that I suspect most people haven't ever heard of, and certainly not played. I want to highlight other systems outside of the big few that everyone knows, and explore other kinds of roleplay that can be done in this space. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to run an indie TTRPG for 3 of my patrons, that being Purple Star, Sky Umi, and Thunder Leopard, called Tricksters. Tricksters is a role-playing game by Kurt Potts, and you can find a link to the game's itch.io page in the video description. Now, from the game's description, become a trickster charged with protecting a small village. Teach the villagers lessons and chase after your worldly desires. Then see what sordid tales these mortals tell of your bizarre interventions. Tricksters is a tabletop role-playing game for 2 to 5 players. One player will take on the role of the facilitator, the GM, and the other players will embody unique tricksters charged with protecting a village. The village is created collaboratively by answering questions, leaving the look and feel of the game setting up to the group. The tricksters are comprised of their true form, human form, tricks, and desires, all of which are up to the players. There are no lists to choose from or powers to pick. The game mechanics are simple, focusing on the 2 most important things for a trickster: teaching a lesson and fulfilling a desire. When you need to make a roll, you build a pool of 6-sided dice based on if you have help, you're using a trick, or are trying to resist a desire. In the end, you'll come up with the moral or expressions the villagers use to remember this little fable that you've told. This is a delightful game of collaborative storytelling that is easy to pick up on and both simple and fun to play. Through playing the game, you are naturally building up the world as you and the other players add things to the game. I had so much fun running it, and the loose nature of how the storytelling works was a huge relief after the hard work and stress of running something like a D&D or Pathfinder game. The campaign is acted out in scenes, involving some or all of the tricksters in a presentation utterly devoid of a timeline. If a player is talking about something that happened last week, the facilitator may very well cut things off by saying, "Let's flash back to last week," and suddenly, that's the scene you're playing out now. There is dice rolling when the outcome of something isn't certain in regards to performing a task or a trick, but it's so small and minor that it doesn't inhibit the flow of the story. There's no complex rules to memorize, there's no block of mechanics to worry about, and there's no stats. This is a game that can go from being a lighthearted romp to a serious moment of heavy emotions with a simple scene change. And a scene can be anything someone wants to do at any point in time. I loved playing this game. It was some of the most fun I've had playing an RPG in years, and it doesn't require really much of anything. This was our final map and play area. My favorite moment was when the local pastor had taken a gay lover, and word got out, sparking a protest. The tricksters, through clever use of all of their individual tricks and some very good role-playing, managed to get the crowd to disperse and realize that this sort of thing just wasn't worth the time. Oh, and did I mention this took place in a modern-day town in Iowa? I asked all of the other players to give me their thoughts at the end, and I agree with everything they said. Thunder Leopard said, "What I liked particularly was we can make simple, generic problem villagers into memorable villains to dunk on. Old Man Gregory is now a top 10 villain of mine. Plus, having to think on the fly to what's going on by the other characters by facilitator is quite an interesting dynamic, especially if the said trickster may not be best suited to deal with a given situation. And having a right group of people with like-minded ideas and beliefs can make it so much easier to get on a similar idea or plan. For me, $3 is far too little for what it's worth in a long run, because stories, settings, characters, the unspecific timeline for each event, and the occasional dice roll give it damn near infinite possibilities, where it's up to everyone to make the outcome unpredictable but satisfying, rather than an endgame plan by a DM or catastrophic derailing decisions by players. Purple Star said, Tricksters was probably some of the most lighthearted and slice-of-life form of TTRPGs I've experienced so far. The best way to describe it is that family-based cartoon you would sit down and watch as a child, and the fact we played as characters who were treated to teach storybook lessons through minor supernatural stuff felt like it made sure we actually cared about the other characters, even if they were brought up on the spot. For those wanting to play a short one-shot because you're short a player for your main game, or because the DM feels burnt out, this is perfect. No need for raw number crunching and dragged out fights and extensive features lists, just some tricks and wants that you can play around with. Sky Umi said, the biggest appeal to me in this was just realizing how impossible it is to rules lawyer in the game, since so much of you can and are doing is simply part of the story and not enforced mechanics. Also, while the strain of improv is somewhat there, it in and of itself becomes as serious as you need it for that reason. We had very quick transitions from super serious and tension-filled encounters to simple laugh track moments, all while feeling natural and just what was happening rather than what could happen. I think having such an active role in creating the story and building the story as a PC was really fun, as I have trouble connecting with the lore I'm not familiar with. The process we went through at the beginning on paper probably seems like setting up work, but it genuinely made the whole experience more engaging. Lastly, I just wanted to add a personal thanks for the game and the concept overall. I think it's really cool, not just saying. I'm actually impressed at this project you're working on. Outside of the metrics, you've created a unique experience in engagement, and I certainly feel more than appreciated by you for it. I don't mind how this turns out, just had to voice how cool this is and how proud I am of you for coming up with it. That last bit was addressed specifically to Kurt Potts, the game's developer and creator. So, they liked it. All in all, Tricksters is a really fun little game, and for only $3, there really isn't a good argument to make against it. It would also be easy to make it into a full campaign with only a few minor tweaks, perhaps choosing new desires at the end of every session if they'd been achieved. But I'm going to give this game 4.5 tails out of 5. I do think it could benefit from a random event table, but there's only an infinite number of those on the internet. For a $3 game, this is very worth your time. Tricksters is a game by Kurt Potts and is available on itch.io. A link to the game's page is in the video description. Want to see more content like this? Then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below, as well as other games you'd like me to try out. I have my next one planned, but it's all up in the air. Want to get in on future game sessions? Well, head on over to patreon.com/FoxyBard and sign up there. All future games like this will be played with my patrons, whose names are scrolling by the screen right now. And that will be it. If this sounds like something fun for you and your group, head on over to the game's itch.io page, linked in the video description, but for now, let's go ahead and get back to our own adventures.